This video will guide you through the 200-hour damper service procedure for the Charger 3 RC2 damper. The process is similar for other RockShox dampers. However, you must consult your fork service manual for special instructions. View a list of parts, tools, and supplies necessary in the video description below. Rotate the compression adjuster knobs counterclockwise to the full open position until they stop. Remove the low-speed compression knob retaining screw and remove the knob. Loosen the high-speed compression knob set screw, but do not remove it. Remove the high-speed compression adjuster knob and remove the detent plate. The fork top caps are tightened to a high torque value. Ensure the fork is held securely in the bike stand. To avoid damage to the top cap, press the top cap cassette tool squarely and firmly down when loosening. Use a socket wrench with a long handle for extra leverage. Unthread the damper top cap and remove the damper assembly. Press down firmly when loosening the top cap. Use your fingers to guide the damper and damper shaft out of the upper tube without scratching the shaft. Clean the inside and outside of the upper tube. Clean the upper tube threads. Clamp the lower Buttercups housing into a vise with Reverb vise blocks on the wrench flats with the damper oriented upward. Unthread the upper Buttercups housing from the lower housing. Remove the damper assembly from the lower cup and set it aside. Remove the lower bumper from the housing and discard it. Do not remove the alignment bolt. Remove the lower Buttercup housing from the vise and clean it. Clamp the damper shaft close to the end plate into the 10mm slot of the vise blocks with the damper oriented downward. Clamp the damper shaft only tight enough so it does not spin when the Buttercup shaft end plate is removed. Scratches can cause oil to leak. Replace the rebound damper assembly if a scratch is visible. Unthread and remove the shaft end plate from the damper shaft. Remove the upper Buttercups bumper and discard it. Remove the upper housing and bushing assembly from the damper shaft. Clamp the damper IFP tube coupler in a vise with Reverb vise blocks, top cap oriented upward. Hold and secure the IFP tube with an open end wrench. The top cap is spring-loaded by the IFP spring. To prevent the spring and top cap from ejecting outward when it is unthreaded, press down on the socket wrench and the top cap while unthreading. Unthread the top cap from the IFP tube. Remove the top cap and IFP spring from the IFP tube. Remove the damper assembly from the vise and clamp the cartridge tube on the wrench flats into the vise with a rebound damper oriented upward. Secure a shop towel around the cartridge tube under the seal head to absorb oil. Unthread and remove the seal head and rebound damper from the cartridge tube. Remove the seal head assembly from the rebound damper and discard the seal head assembly. Clean the rebound damper assembly and check for scratches on the shaft, then set it aside. Remove the cartridge tube from the vise and pour the damper oil into an oil pan. Clamp the damper tube assembly back into the vise on the IFP tube coupler hex wrench flats with the IFP tube oriented upward. Unthread and remove the IFP tube assembly from the IFP coupler. The IFP tube assembly may contain damping oil. Hold the IFP tube assembly with the exterior hex end downward. From the exterior threaded end of the IFP tube, press the adjuster tab and push the compression damper assembly out of the IFP tube until the piston assembly exits the IFP tube. Oil will drain from the tube. With the piston above the Reverb vise blocks, lightly clamp the compression damper hex cam into the vise. Do not clamp on the set screws. The IFP tube should be below the vise blocks. Unthread and remove the high-speed compression nut from the compression damper assembly and set it aside. Unthread and remove both cam set screws and set them aside. Remove the low-speed compression assembly from the high-speed compression piston assembly. Spray the assembly with RockShox suspension cleaner or isopropyl alcohol and set it aside. Remove the high-speed compression piston assembly from the IFP tube and spray the assembly with RockShox suspension cleaner or isopropyl alcohol. Then set it aside. Push the IFP out of the IFP tube and remove it. Do not scratch the inside surface of the IFP tube. Scratches can cause oil to leak. Replace the IFP tube if a scratch is visible. Clean the IFP tube and inspect it for scratches. Then set it aside. Remove the inner and outer IFP O-rings and discard them. Clean the IFP and inspect it for scratches. Do not scratch the O-ring grooves in the IFP. Scratches will cause oil to leak. The IFP must be replaced if a scratch is visible in the O-ring grooves. Apply grease to the new inner and outer IFP O-rings and install them into the IFP. Apply a thin coat of suspension oil to the inner surface of the IFP tube. Insert the IFP into the IFP tube. Flat end, outer O-ring first, into the outer threaded end of the IFP tube. Press the IFP into the IFP tube until it is approximately 30 mm from the end of the opposite end of the tube. Apply a light coat of suspension oil to the high-speed compression piston assembly shaft. From the hex end of the IFP tube, insert the high-speed compression piston assembly into and through the center of the IFP. Press it into the IFP until the piston assembly is approximately 20 mm above the internally threaded end of the IFP tube. Apply suspension oil to the low-speed compression piston assembly shaft and O-rings. Hold the piston to keep it from moving. From the external threaded end of the IFP tube, insert the low-speed compression shaft assembly, silver arrow end first, into the high-speed compression piston assembly shaft. Push the low-speed compression piston assembly until the narrow silver shaft end protrudes through the piston bolt, until it stops and snaps into place, completely seated. Install both cam set screws evenly, finger tight. Tighten each to the specified torque. Pull the piston up until it is above the end of the IFP tube. Clamp the high-speed compression assembly into the vise at the cam hex wrench flats. The piston should be above the vise blocks, and the IFP tube should be below the vise blocks. Do not clamp on the set screws. Install the compression nut onto the inner low-speed compression rod end and tighten it. The low-speed compression adjuster will rotate when the nut is tightened. Rotate it counterclockwise, back to full extension after the nut is tightened. Using a non-metallic pick, push the IFP evenly into the IFP tube until the hollow end is just below the IFP tube bleed port hole. The IFP should not cover the bleed port hole. Push the piston down until it is approximately 10 mm above the end of the IFP tube. Inject suspension oil into the IFP tube until it is full. Oil will fill the IFP tube above the IFP and below the piston. Hold a shop towel around the IFP tube. Push the piston down and into the IFP tube until it stops. Remove the O-ring from the red cartridge tube coupler and discard it. Clean the O-ring groove. Spray RockShox suspension cleaner into the cartridge tube and set it upright on a shop towel to drain. Apply grease to a new O-ring and install it onto the red coupler. Hold the IFP secure so it does not move. Thread the IFP tube coupler onto the IFP tube and tighten it hand tight. Clamp the cartridge tube assembly into the vise at the wrench flats with the IFP tube assembly oriented downward. Tighten the IFP tube and IFP coupler onto the cartridge tube. When tightened, the IFP tube, IFP coupler, and cartridge tube will all be tightened to the same torque. Pour suspension oil into the cartridge tube until it is full. Apply grease to the wiper seal on the new rebound damper seal head assembly. Install the seal head assembly onto the rebound damper shaft and slide it to the rebound piston until it stops. Clean the grease from the shaft threads. Insert the rebound adjuster knob into the rebound shaft and rotate it counterclockwise until it stops. This is the full open rebound setting. Secure a shop towel around the damper tube to absorb displaced oil. While pulling up on the rebound damper to maintain contact with the seal head, insert the rebound damper piston into the cartridge tube. Continue to apply opposing pressure to the seal head with the rebound damper and thread the seal head onto the end of the cartridge tube until it is hand tight. Do not push the rebound damper into the cartridge tube while threading the seal head onto the cartridge tube. Tighten the seal head to the specified torque. Scratches can cause oil to leak. Replace the rebound damper assembly if a scratch is visible. Remove the damper from the vise and clean the entire assembly. The Ultimate Charger RC2 damper shaft Buttercups assembly is not compatible with Select Plus Charger 3 RC2, Select Charger RC, and Base Rush RC rebound damper shafts. Do not install a damper shaft Buttercups assembly onto a Select Plus Charger 3 RC2, Select Charger RC, or Base Rush RC damper shaft. Install the upper Buttercups housing and bushing assembly onto the damper shaft. Slide the assembly toward the rebound seal head until it stops. Install a new upper Buttercups bumper, wide end first, onto the damper shaft. Apply Threadlocker Loctite 2760 or equivalent to the first 3 full threads on the end of the end plate. Clamp the damper shaft close to the end plate threads into the 10mm slot of the vise blocks. Clamp the damper shaft only tight enough so it does not spin when the Buttercup shaft end plate is tightened. Scratches can cause oil to leak. Replace the rebound damper assembly if a scratch is visible. Thread the Buttercup shaft end plate into the damper shaft and tighten it. Install the new lower Buttercups housing bumper into the lower Buttercups housing, wide side down in alignment with the bolt. Apply Threadlocker Loctite 242 or equivalent to 3 full outer threads on the lower Buttercups housing. Slide the upper bumper to the end plate. Install the lower Buttercups housing bumper assembly onto the Buttercup shaft end plate. Insert the bolt through the end plate bolt hole and upper bumper. Thread the upper Buttercups housing onto the lower Buttercups housing, finger tight. Remove the damper shaft from the vise. Clamp the lower Buttercups housing into a vise on the wrench flats. Damper oriented upward. Tighten the upper Buttercups housing onto the lower housing. Rotate the adjuster tab counterclockwise until it stops. This is the full open position. Insert the IFP coil spring into the IFP damper tube. The spring will rest on top of the IFP. Position the Buttercups or rebound damper shaft end on a flat surface. During the bleed process, the rebound damper must not be compressed further than the etched mark on the damper shaft. Place a shop towel over the IFP spring. Press the IFP coil spring down and into the IFP tube, about halfway, and hold it steady. This pushes the IFP into the IFP tube and applies opposing force, creating pressure within the cartridge tube. While holding the IFP spring compressed, slowly push the damper down about halfway to the purge mark. then allow the damper to fully extend. Repeat this 2 more times, or until air cannot be heard moving through the damper. While still holding the IFP spring compressed, slowly compress the damper until the rebound seal head is even with the purge mark on the rebound damper shaft. During the bleed process, the rebound damper must not be compressed further than the etched mark on the damper shaft. A small amount of oil should purge from the bleed hole in the IFP tube. Lift the damper up slowly while maintaining pressure on the IFP spring and allow the rebound damper to extend. Compressing the IFP will apply opposing pressure in the damper to allow the rebound damper to extend fully. Repeat this process 2 more times, 3 total. The IFP tube may contain a small amount of oil after oil is purged from the bleed port. Pour any remaining oil from the IFP tube into an oil pan before installing the top cap. Clamp the red coupler in the vise. Align the keyed end of the compression adjuster under the top cap with the low-speed compression damper adjuster tab. Align the keyed parts. Press the top cap down, compress the IFP spring, and engage the top cap thread slowly. Press down with the top cap tool and slowly thread the top cap onto the cartridge tube. The top cap threads will not engage if the keyed adjuster parts are not aligned and engaged. Do not cross-thread the top cap and IFP tube. When the threads are engaged properly, thread the top cap onto the IFP tube and tighten to torque. Clamp the rebound seal head into the vise at the wrench flats. Tighten the top cap to the specified torque. Temporarily install the low-speed compression adjuster knob on the compression adjuster. Install and tighten the retaining screw finger tight. Rotate the low-speed compression adjuster clockwise until it stops at the last detent. This is the firmest low-speed compression setting. Oil may exit the cartridge tube bleed hole. Wear safety glasses and keep your eyes and face away from the bleed hole when compressing the rebound damper. During the damper test process, the rebound damper must not be compressed further than the etched mark on the damper shaft. Push the rebound damper into the cartridge tube slowly. Firm and consistent resistance should be felt with no gaps in movement. Do not push the rebound damper end further than the etched mark on the rebound damper shaft. A small amount of oil may purge from the bleed port. Rotate the low-speed compression adjuster counterclockwise to the full open setting and repeat the compression test. Light, consistent resistance should be felt with no gaps in movement. Cycle the rebound damper up and down with the compression adjuster in the full open position until oil no longer purges from the bleed port. If gaps are felt during compression, repeat the oil fill and bleed process. If the assembly process was successful, set the compression damper to the open setting and remove the shop towel and wipe away any oil from the assembly. Remove the low-speed compression adjuster knob when the test is complete. Remove the O-ring from the top cap. Clean the top cap threads and O-ring groove. Apply grease to a new top cap O-ring and install it. Install the damper assembly into the damper side upper tube. Use your fingers to guide the damper and damper shaft into the upper tube without scratching the shaft. Thread the top cap into the upper tube and tighten it. Press down firmly when tightening the top cap. Remove the white ring from the low-speed compression knob and discard it. Clean the groove. Then install the new white ring. Install the high-speed compression knob detent plate with the adjustment tick mark oriented to the back of the crown, perpendicular to the steerer tube. Rotate the large high-speed compression adjuster cam clockwise by hand until it stops. Install the high-speed compression knob and align the tick mark with the alignment tick mark on the detent plate at the back of the crown. Tighten the high-speed compression knob set screw. Check the function by rotating the knob counterclockwise and confirming each detent tick mark aligns with the tick mark on the detent plate. Rotate the low-speed compression adjuster cam full clockwise with a 2.5 mm hex wrench until it stops. Install and position the low-speed compression adjuster knob and position the knob with the low-speed compression and high-speed compression alignment marks as pictured. Hold the low-speed compression adjustment knob in place and tighten the retaining screw. Check function by rotating the low-speed compression knob counterclockwise and confirm each detent tick mark aligns with the tick mark on the high-speed compression knob. Follow the link in the video description below, or click the link in the upper right corner for instructions on how to install the lower leg.